Miss Moncrief. Good afternoon. I just wanted to thank you for giving me the time to help you through this coaching cycle and for us to work through this together. This is brand new to me. I've never done anything like this, but you know I'm always here to help you whether I'm your coach or not. So we have been looking at the standard 2G3, which is a math standard, and it's our geometry standard, which focuses on, fractions, what's appropriate for second grade. But before we really dive into that, we're just going to do like some pre-conference questions to ask. So how do you feel like classroom instruction is going in your classroom?
I think it's going good, especially the math area because I've gotten help with you this year. So I do think it's going good.
Okay. All right. What is an area that you think that I could help you improve with your classroom instruction?
Probably small groups, mainly like who should be in what group based on what we're learning and their struggling issues, maybe what they need more support in.
Right. Okay, perfect. I can definitely help you with that, and I can show you ways that I've done it in the past, and we can look at different things. So let's just go ahead and look at the pre-assessment. Before, I looked at it a little bit before, but let's just look at it real quick.
Okay.
So from what I could determine, about 40% of your students were emerging with this data. 40% of your students were developing with this data, and you had a small percentage, 10% meeting and 10% exceeding. So when we really looked at it, it looked like only 20% were really even familiar with thirds and halves and fours. Is that kind of what you found when you looked at it?
I kind of got the same thing. It seemed like some of them kind of knew what we were going to be doing. Some were, it was the first time they had ever seen it. But yeah, it was kind of like a range throughout.
Yes.
And I think that is what we were talking about with small group, how I need that support is because I have some that just don't know at all and then some that have the swing of it. So really helping the kids all the way across the board, even the ones that are already understanding.
Okay. And I think that's a really, really good goal. I think for us working together, we can work on how to enrich the kids that already have it, how to take that standard up a notch, and we can focus definitely on the ones that have no clue with what's going on with the standard. When I was also looking through this, and just tell me how you feel about this as far as a goal, but I was hoping that we could set a goal that 90% of your students be meeting or exceeding the standard by the time we get through with this coaching cycle.
I mean, I think so because it's not a standard like other ones that are more complex.
Right.
I think that through teaching this, they'll end up grasping the concept by the end.
Okay. So I'm just gonna make a note of that. Okay. And so we'll just know that we're going to work through that. So this is our baseline data, and it just tells me that gives us a starting point, and it helps us go to what we're working on. Of course, we want 100% of the students to master the standard, but I think 90% is very attainable.
Right.
So we're going to prepare, and I'm going to work with you on how we're going to get this done. We're going to look at how we can take this baseline data and meet and make our small groups.
Okay.
So let's see. But as you said earlier in the video, I do take it, and because we're on the same team with Grade Level, I do send you all my materials from what we look at with our math cadres. And so I send all of the lessons that I've used in the past. Are those lessons helpful?
Yes, they are.
Okay. So I would continue using that for your large group instruction.
Okay.
For small group, especially with maybe some of your identified tier 4 students that you work with that maybe don't receive that special ed support during math time, there's some materials I want to give you to really implement some hands-on fraction learning. So does that sound like a good place to start?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Okay, and what I like to do is to group my students according to how they're meeting the standards teachers and what level of instruction they need, whether they need tier 1 instruction only, tier 2, or tier 3. And I usually do that by looking at how they're achieving and how they're mastering the standard. And you can do that through the CFAs that we're going to be working on, and you can even start your baseline grouping with what you had right here. You may do like a group of a small group of 4 or 5 students that are emerging with the data, or 4 or 5 students that are developing with the data. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think that's good. So when you group your students, do you group them as, say, if they really need that support, you work with them more throughout the week than others, and maybe when they show that improvement, maybe you move their groups around?
That's exactly
Okay.
what I do. I think that's a good starting point. So just a couple more things before we wrap up this conference. How do you feel about providing feedback to your students? Is this an area that you feel confident in?
I'm not 100% confident in that area just because this is my first year of teaching.
Right.
And coming into it, I kind of wasn't aware that we even did that. So I know that we've talked some about doing that.
Yes.
And at first, I'll be honest, I kind of wondered, why are we doing this? And then the tools that you have shown me, I've seen how it works. And so I've been trying to use those tools and incorporate them more.
Okay.
But I definitely always could get more feedback in that area.
Okay. Yeah. One thing I learned is you definitely want to tell the students exactly what they're doing good, and then give them a little push.
Right.
And to use those, words like, for example, you might say, "I see that you've gotten halves down pat. Let's really look at thirds and what that means, and what it means to partition a rectangle into thirds and fourths." That way, they really know that you're using that language and you're giving that straight to them. Okay, so we have a starting point for large group. We have a starting point for small group. We have our baseline data. So let's just reconvene this meeting, and then we'll come back and look in about